Hey guys, thanks for joining the webinar today. We'll get started in a couple of minutes here. There will be a little chat to the right of your screen, and if you have any questions at all during this time, definitely feel free to ask them. My colleague Jessica will be monitoring that along the way. So we're really excited to kind of get started here on chatting about social media trends. So if you do miss any kind of questions throughout this webinar at all, definitely feel free to email us too at support@meetedgar.com, and we'd love to chat about your strategy and anything else that's going along. So we can make sure we're always giving you that best topics for social media trends. Cool. So thanks for joining. Like I said, we're going to chat a little bit about keeping up with these changes in social media marketing. And it's really nice to have these changes on the top of your minds as networks are kind of going through all of these different changes. And I'm sure you've heard, especially Facebook these days, however big or small these changes are. One of my main goals for you all today is to walk away with some simple time-saving techniques to keep up with the changes in social media. So here at Edgar, we're an automation tool, obviously. So we certainly don't want you to have to feel like keeping up with news and social media is adding more time to your day. As with most things in life, if you plan this out and you take some time to learn where this information lives, with something as little as 10 minutes a day, you can actually stay on top of all these changes to social networks and make sure your strategy is really relevant and reaching the majority of your followers. So the whole point of doing this is pretty simple. It really is to make the intake of information as passive as possible for you. And by enabling some social media trends to come to you, rather than you having to spend hours a day seeking them out, you'll be able to save yourself some valuable time, create and really free up that time to create more content to your followers and get your awesome updates in front of your audience. And remember, if people are following you, they really are craving information, and we want to make sure that information you're creating gets out to your followers through all these changes the social media networks are making and still staying on top of the mind of your audience. You know, they want to know your opinions. They want to know how you relate to it in your niche. So don't be afraid to get out there and learn about these changes to stay on top of things. Your followers always want to know who you are. They want to stay connected with your brand and learn from your expertise. So don't be shy about getting in front of your audience, and really keeping up with these changes is a sure way to help do that. Cool. So let's jump right into the webinar today. So let's start with what's on top of everyone's mind these days is Facebook. They've been announcing all sorts of changes recently. And if you search the Meet Edgar blog for these algorithm changes, some of the biggest changes in Facebook are right there for you. And they really are centered around minimizing what we call these clickbait and higher quality link shares and creating more community and contact with your followers to have person-to-person communication. You know, everything that they're saying is talking a lot about how they don't want it to be just a platform. They want it to be something where you're really engaged. So remember, this is actually a really awesome change for you as a brand if you're doing it right. So if you are doing this with Facebook's new algorithm changes in mind, we want you to really help increase your know, like, and trust factor that we talk about all the time. You know, gone are the times that you have to try to keep up with clickbait headlines and just pump out as much meaningless content just to show up on people's feeds. So now it is much more about that high quality content and meaningful connections that matter, which ultimately help you build more brand ambassadors for your product or blog. So when you do read these changes, don't get really bogged down by them. You know, think of them as an opportunity, again, in order to have your social media marketing really shine. Now, beyond the Meet Edgar blog, how would you find out about these changes? One of my favorite places is Facebook actually has a great feature in their newsroom. Their URL is right up here on the top of this slide, super simple, newsroom.fb.com/news. While they share a mix of different announcements and best practices and case studies, you can actually opt to read announcements in your own preferences too. You can see here on the bottom right of this screenshot, there's actually an option to follow and have these updates appear in your reader on Facebook, which is a great way to passively keep up with the news. In just a few minutes a day, you can have these appear for you. You can pick and choose which ones are going to be relevant for you to read and kind of ignore the rest of it. But I would definitely recommend checking out Facebook's news blog here. Again, a great way to get that right from Facebook on their changes and how they recommend using these in marketing. Cool. So when you read about these updates and these algorithm changes on Facebook, or when you notice these little feature releases, you know, like Facebook Live when it came out, you can bet without even testing this that using these new features will actually allow you to find better reach for your posts for your audience. it's really best, it's really in the best interest of Facebook and other platforms to make sure people are using this product update that they released. They spent so much time building this feature, and it's awesome that they now have this, so that you can probably guess that it's going to be in their algorithm, is going to be surfacing this new feature more often than other posts, and we'll show these updates further up in people's feeds. So be sure to incorporate these into your news strategy when you are reading the product releases on their blog. For example, here at Edgar, we started introducing a lot of our blog posts and a lot of our promotions, not only with text updates and fun little teasers in our Facebook feed and Twitter accounts, but we do utilize Facebook Live videos a lot more now too. It's a great little way to get this blog post out in front of you, right from the words, right from the mouth of our founder. And it really lets you authentically connect with your audience and get that human connection, which really helps increase that know, like, and trust factor. It's a cool way to be yourself and really connect with your audience. So definitely don't let that opportunity pass you by. As you can see here, our founder, Laura, has her son helping to introduce one of our Valentine's Day giveaways. In this simple video, it not only gets the word out about our promotion, it also has some behind the scenes into who Edgar CEO is. And knowing there's that human behind our application who's got your back goes a really long way in creating trust in kind of that faceless world that the internet can seem like sometimes. So videos like these are also a great way to get some cross promotion in. She's talking there with her son. It's a really engaging video that you can watch. But think about other things that this video can do, or any kind of live video that you produce can do for you. You can say things like, hey, in case you missed it when we shared XYZ article on our Twitter feed, or in case you missed the discussion in our Facebook group about XYZ, these little kind of teasers about what are on your other networks can really help cross promote and really help you gain a lot more followers and a lot more audience there as well. And playing up these types of exclusive content and where they live on each channel can provide your members with that call to action to follow through with these networks and build out some awesome benefits that can bring your follower count up. So definitely, as I mentioned, as you're seeing new updates roll out, as you're seeing people talk about how they use them, incorporate them into your strategy, but don't force it. Try to make it really authentic, like here, how Laura did with her son, and kind of making that into your strategy as you go along. Cool. So for Twitter, one of the best places to look for their news is on their own blog. Twitter writes about top events, insights from data, new features, and their company on their blog quite often. Super simple to find. It's a quick Google search of the Twitter blog, or the URL here is blog.twitter.com. And you can see any trending topics in social media in general, which really helps you kind of think about how you can get your updates to trend as well. So filter through these, look what people are doing, see what's in the news today, and try to add those into your strategy as you're going along too. Takes a couple of minutes every day, a couple of minutes every week to kind of scan through this. Even the headlines are really helpful in helping you see what's going on within the Twitter landscape these days. So if you are curious not only about what's going on in the news from Twitter, if you're curious about their product changes, they also have another blog here. The URL is a little bit longer, so I do recommend doing a Google search. But if you're curious about these changes, you should check out the product news section of their blog here. On the product-specific blog, you can find things with their Google search here, like I said, but you can find things about their 280 character updates, stuff like that, more so than what's trending on social. So keeping up with both of these is a really great way to get a kind of really nice view of the Twitter landscape these days. You can also do something awesome on Twitter, and that's called creating a Twitter stream with your searches. So if you search a lot for popular hashtags, this will be a great way that it can populate news articles that are trending. For example, here, you can see I typed in social media right up there with the hashtag in the upper right corner. And awesome news starts to pop up about social media. You can see that little Snapchat article there. And if you scroll through here, you can also see that I have this little drop-down menu with the 3 vertical buttons over here on the right populated. And I can actually save this search. Great time saver here. If you're saving searches that you're going to look for often, the next time you put your cursor in the search bar of Twitter, All your safe searches will actually populate in a little drop-down menu search there, right there for you. And this enables you to easily spend a few minutes clicking through these searches and seeing what pops up without having to type that out each time. So definitely take advantage of saving some popular searches, getting those trending hashtags, and staying up with the chatter on Twitter to really keep up to date. Cool. So we also all know that influencers are huge on social media. Doing things like following the influencers and following the official Twitter accounts on social media platforms is probably one of the fastest way to learn about changes and what's going on. While they all post a mix of news and tips, they're a great source for updates on their platform. And it really benefits the networks to tweet about these, to release it on their Facebook pages as soon as this comes out. And with things changing so often, you can go on, once a day, once a week, get that really great curation of the updates straight from the network's mouth. So I would definitely take some time to add these handles to your Twitter account as you're scrolling through, keeping up with your personal Twitter and your personal Facebook. Getting some of these in there can kind of spark those really great, authentic connections that you can say, oh, wow, I should really incorporate this into my own social strategy. The other thing we'll chat about more a little bit later on is finding influencers on social media and Twitter. For example, Mari Smith is one of my favorites to follow, and she's perhaps one of the best well known Facebook marketers out there. She often gets really early access to new Facebook features. Facebook wants her to promote them. They want to get her feedback. They build all this kind of in a vacuum, and giving her this early access allows her then to introduce it to the rest of us. She shares it with her fans on her network. So find and follow people like this on Facebook and Twitter to learn how they're using these new features, what their opinions are about them, and the best ways that their updates are being kind of changed around based on the news that's coming out. Cool. So TweetDeck, this is one of the most awesome automation tools that you can keep up with. It's a great tool that every morning or whenever you check social media news, you can just open up your TweetDeck and scroll through your Twitter lists. What TweetDeck is it's just a free web-based tool that helps you manage and post to the Twitter accounts that you manage. It's also designed to improve and organize across like different Twitter accounts. So if you use TweetDeck, it actually gives you a dashboard that displays specific columns of activity from your Twitter accounts. For example, you might see separate columns for your home feed, your notifications, your direct messages, all your activity right there in one place. When you log in, you can also always reorder these columns. You can delete them, add new ones, and personalize it so well with trending hashtags, different topics, stuff like that. So again, a great way to curate a specific and personalized way to keep up with social media there. So when you're designing your TweetDeck dashboard, you can really make sure that it fits your needs. And this is one of the best time-saving things that I have found when trying to read on social media. You can connect your personal and your business account both on TweetDeck here, switch between pages and posts, everything separately without having to log in and log out of each of those Twitter accounts. Likewise, if you're interested in following specific trending topics on Twitter, you could add a column on your TweetDeck for trending topics and keywords or phrases, and it'll show you all of the tweets that are happening in real time. TweetDeck doesn't cost anything. It's absolutely free, and you don't even need to create an account if you already have a Twitter account. So definitely check that out. It's just tweetdeck.com. You can type into your URL browser. If you have a Twitter account, just pop your login details there, and you'll be given a few default columns, but definitely spend some time customizing it, as this is a great way for you not to have to log into Twitter, not for you to be kind of distracted by social media during your day, because you're just getting into your TweetDeck, looking over all of the relevant news that will help support you in your work, and kind of ignoring those more kind of fun tweets that you might be distracted by as you're going throughout your day. Cool. So some new features. I always like to recommend what you do is look at it through a really mindful space. When they're released, you want to go to the major brands again and see how they're using them, see what's going on with this. Of course, we always are seeing these changes in a positive light, how you can incorporate this into your strategy. One of the easiest examples for explaining this here is Twitter released its 280 character limit recently. And Twitter didn't necessarily expect that expanding its character count would be a feature that most people would use. but it's one that using Twitter is really rewarding for the experience of brands using it for like customer service or for these more major tweets that you're doing. Twitter is still such a fast-paced network that the old 140 character is really designed for that sort of information consumption. So don't be shy to kind of use some of the old strategies that you do have here. One of the biggest advantages that Twitter has with this is it's so brief, and brevity is what people love on Twitter. And that's what you can kind of think about when you're using this 280 character limit. Is it something you can be glad you have, but you don't necessarily have to use it every time? So again, be mindful when these updates come out on how you can incorporate it into your strategy. One way that I love to see how people are using this new 280 character count is for customer service. You know all too well about the difficulty that you can try to explain something really complex in 140 characters. It's not always enough space to get that message out, to get the right tone that you want, especially when more and more people are coming to Twitter with customer service. So being selective again about how you're incorporating these into your posts can be awesome. One way to learn how to be really selective about this is again search out major brands who do things like this well. How are your major brands using this for customer service? For example, here you can see how Apple is using this. They're getting all the information they need in order to troubleshoot this person's problem effectively. And it does go over that 140 character limit, but you can see they don't exactly push it to the 280. They're still trying to keep it as brief as possible, removing any words that don't necessarily add a lot to the update here. So not a ton of extra work to your day. Don't worry, you don't have to go into your Edgar library and add in 280 characters to every single tweet that you have in there. Be selective, but definitely take advantage of any update that comes out in a space that it makes most sense for you. Cool. So moving along with this idea of automation in mind, one of the things that I absolutely recommend doing is setting up Google alerts for your industry and for the platforms that are most relevant for you. So what you can kind of think of Google Alerts as is it's a customized Google search, and it delivers these search results to you automatically. You can set up a number of alerts. I think it's something like 1,000 per email address, and it really helps you monitor that online activity. And each search term of your choice can be customized. So, for example, if you're a LinkedIn consultant, you could set up a Google alert for the word LinkedIn. You could take some time now to think about your goals. What are your goals on social media? And make these alerts kind of relevant to those goals in order to make sure that you're curating a really great alert system. It's just as important to consume news and information that's going to lead to your knowledge increasing and staying up to date with the news out there. So asking these questions, here at Edgar, we ask a lot of questions about social media and, why are we on social media? What goals do we have with each network? And this can really inform the types of Google alerts that will be helpful to you. And you can make them really broad and you can make them really specific. So test it out. You can always change and alter what you're having in these alerts at a later date. So I would definitely suggest doing things like setting up these alerts for keywords and phrases related to your niche. You'll see results from others and you can get a really great feel about what's being talked about in your specific industry. Building on this, you can look at what ideas people are presenting in their blogs, and you can kind of think about what's missing in this section too. What can you do to fill that gap in the knowledge that has to do with your niche? So this is not only a great way to stay up to date with social media trends, but it's also a great way to stay up to date with what people are talking about in your industry and how you can start to fill the void that might be there in order to set yourself apart, in order to really make sure the news you're putting out there is relevant. So super simple to set up a Google alert. Just go to google.com/alerts and you'll see that you'll have this page where you can, if you do have a Gmail account, you can go ahead and sign in. But if you don't have a Gmail account, you can still just start filling out this form here. You'll enter the search terms that you want for Google alerts to track. You can separate them from commas. So definitely don't be shy about adding a bunch. Again, you can always edit these at a later date. If you're not sure what to track, I'd start with your name and your blog's name, and you can there, and that'll give you an idea of putting in other influencers' name, other things like social media topics, keywords related to your brand, and stuff like that does really well in Google Alerts. The cool thing about this is you can also choose the type of results that Google Alerts will find for you. So you can see here on that dropdown, you can choose from news, blogs, videos, books, everything. So you can start to really dial in on what's important and what really helps you. You can change how often these alerts come to you. I personally like to receive mine once a day. Even once a week could be as good a way to kind of save that time. I'm trying to cut down on the time I spend checking email, really help introduce a lot more time to create content and to engage with the business. So if you're tracking these projects in a timely way, make sure that you're kind of paying attention. If once a day is too much, maybe making it once a week. Play around with what works best for your schedule. Um, Cool. So once you create that alert, all of this will just come right into your inbox. And again, an awesome way to automate staying up to date on that social media news. Cool. So before I said that we would take a little bit more time to talk about influencers, and we've gotten to that point here. This is one of my personal favorite ways to keep up with social media news. It really helps think about who the people are who are driving the change in the marketing world and how they can help you and your brand. Keeping up with who's on top can be really tough these days as so many more people are starting to come out in the marketing industry. These individuals are those who are impacting how we do our jobs. They're blogging, they're speaking, they're making amazing strides in social media marketing. So I would suggest following their Twitter handles, following them on Facebook. They not only talk about what's specific in their little lifestyle brand, maybe, but they'll talk about what's working. They'll give you a lot behind the scenes here. So definitely take some time to seek out people in your industry as well as to seek out marketers in general. The next natural question that you do have here is how do you find some of these people? Though it might seem obvious, many people probably skip this step, as I did for a long time. You could start by doing something as simply typing in the word top, the name of your field, and then leaders. So you can see here on my Twitter, on my Google search here, top social media marketing leaders goes ahead and gives me a list right here with their Twitter handles populated for me. Super simple that I can just copy and paste those and really see some awesome updates from these influencers in my Twitter feed every time that I log in. So take some time, search out people not only in your industry, but also social media marketers in general. Great way to kind of add that into your day pretty easily. Cool. So another thing that we do here at Edgar to keep track of social news is to set up an IFTTT. So this derives its name from a programming conditional statement, if this, then that. So when the company provides its software platform, what it's basically doing is it's kind of like a Zapier. It's connecting different devices, different services, and different triggers in order to set these things up to really benefit you guys. So you can set rules to say, like, when an article pops up about Twitter on this subject, add it to my spreadsheet. Then you can do something as simple as setting aside 10 minutes a day to read and scan through all these articles to keep up to date with things and not have to go out and search Twitter or search Google for the article. They're already populated right there for you in a spreadsheet. Another thing that I love about IFTTT that I've seen people do is they'll run Twitter chats and they'll set up a hashtag ahead of time, or you'll run a promotion where you ask your followers to tweet with a hashtag. Through IFTTT, you can then make a rule and you can have it set these Twitter handles added to a spreadsheet whenever someone uses your personal hashtag. And it's a great way to keep track of all your users who are participating in the conversation so you can remember to follow up with them afterwards. And again, with the changes in social media really being connected and really being relevant towards one-on-one connection with your followers, this can be a great way to kind of get that personal connection and stay up to date with them. Cool. So if you're a LinkedIn user, you actually have a tremendous resource available right at your fingertips too. This is awesome for marketing tips. LinkedIn Groups offers marketers access to latest marketing news, to some insights from the top thought leaders in the industry, and following along and engaging with users on LinkedIn Groups can be a tremendous resource that can help you stay on top of all things marketing. So LinkedIn Groups, again, are a great way to stay on top of these trends, but they're also a great way to engage with, potential clients and to network with people within your industry. So I recommend searching these out and joining some groups and, checking in on the discussion. Again, 10 minutes a week is probably enough to kind of scroll through and see what people are talking about in the latest marketing news, insights from well-known people, from the founders of the groups, any interesting conversations you can then join. But even passively scrolling through these can give you a lot of really awesome aha moments when it comes to your social marketing. Um, so to get started, again, going back to that simple, just Googling some LinkedIn marketing groups. A couple I like here are digital marketing, inbound marketing, the social media marketing strategy for professionals group here. You can learn about things like SEO, email marketing, social marketing, and these really, again, help you network with others within your industry. Oftentimes, they'll have little tutorials within them, templates, and kind of planning strategies. These groups are really often started by some of the best people in the industry who have successful startups and blogs themselves. So it's a great place to ask connections of the founders of the group too, to learn about their personal experience. And, not have to reinvent the wheel. If you're learning from others, they really want to make sure that they're producing great content for you. So definitely take some time to join some LinkedIn groups and learn from others who have had success on social media. Subscribe to social media blogs. Of course, we recommend subscribing to blogs. We love to blog here at Edgar. Content marketing is so powerful. Some of our favorites are listed here, or you can use a service like Pocket or Feedly. Subscribe to their blogs, subscribe to their newsletters or RSS feeds, and you can get these updates in a nice roundup in your inbox. I personally like to block off time on my Google Calendar, 30 minutes a day on a Thursday afternoon to go through all my Feedly feeds and kind of keep up to date with that. So again, not a huge chunk of time, but it adds a ton of knowledge and it adds a ton to what's going on currently in social media. And we all know that content marketing is huge in today's world when you're trying to provide that value to your followers. So these blogs are actually curating some of the best news for you, and they care about you getting this news. So definitely don't let those pass you by. Cool. So next, let's chat virtual conferences. These are a great way to keep up with social media changes. And we all know that working on social media can be a little bit lonely at times, especially if you're working as a team. If you're a team of one, if you're the only one in your product doing social media, you might not have a lot of people to bounce things off of. So this is a great way to help you connect and learn from others. To get involved, you can do a Google search for some virtual conferences on social media out there. Social media conferences are really awesome. Once you find them, you can start to search for hashtags as well. Oftentimes, people who are attending these either live or virtually will have a discussion on Twitter or Facebook with that specific hashtag. And you can also see what's going on. People's reactions to them are just as important as what's getting put out there by the conference host. So it's a great, meaningful way to get with these influencers and to really help to get yourself out there and see what's going on in social media. Again, we go back to this idea that human connection is so huge. And as a quality influencer on these networks, it's so important to join the discussion yourself. So if you are attending these virtual conferences, share with your followers what you're learning there, how it's going to really help incorporate things into your brand and get that news out there. Your followers love to know what you're doing and learn from you. So definitely don't be afraid to join in on some of those conversations. Cool. Podcasts. This is one of my personal favorite ways to keep up with it. I listen to social media marketing podcasts every time I travel or every time I walk my dog, and you can learn a ton in your downtime from this. The benefit of podcasts are that hearing from real social media practitioners from various industries about the specific work that they're doing is a lot more useful than some of these sweeping generalizations about social media that are hard to apply to your daily routines. So often they'll have some specific examples from their own personal blogs or products. So these are a great way for you to get in on that. They do some other subtle things in podcasts as well that I love, which is to help you understand how information is presented in a really great way. So many podcasters are fantastic storytellers, and this storytelling side is huge when it comes to being able to connect with your audience. So be sure not just to listen to the news that's occurring, but pay attention to how it's presented too, and how you can help improve your own storytelling through this. One of the things about storytelling that really sticks with me is there is a proverb that I think says, tell me the facts and I'll learn. Tell me the truth and I'll believe, but tell me a story and it'll live in my heart forever. And if you keep this in mind when you're composing your updates, this idea of storytelling living in people's hearts more than their minds, it can really help your brand stand out and have that emotional connection that works so well with social media. I especially find that podcasts and stories of people's real life experiences are far more inspirational. And that really helps us kind of look at our own status updates through that lens as well. So one of the best ways to find them, open up your podcast app on your phone, type in social media right there, and it'll populate some you can try out. Others you'll want to subscribe to so you never miss an episode. But definitely take some time to try those out, see what's working best for your podcasts and what really resonates with your brand. Cool. So, with all these changes, how does this fit into your everlasting Edgar library that holds all of your evergreen content? That's a great question. So, when these changes come out on social media, we recommend every once in a while doing a quick audit of your library so you can see how these things and asking these questions can really help influence the updates you've already have in there. Things like adding more video, maybe, or introducing yourselves and your blogs through that video, as we were chatting about. You can add video through Edgar now, so definitely take some time maybe to be authentic in front of the camera, introduce your blog posts, and sprinkle those in on your scheduling calendar. Sometimes when you write blog posts, they seem so good and so timeless that we forget that we can also go in and ask questions leading into these blog posts. This question part goes a long way in these networks trying to get more human to human connection. So ask questions about your followers, what their opinions are on different things that you're sharing to really start to generate that conversation. So to end here, as we do start to see these changes roll out, log into your Edgar account and make some changes to your updates once in a while. Auditing your library is not only beneficial to keep your followers up to date with news, but to also look at your status update through the lens of these changes. So you might be sharing links once in a while from other people too. Remember to tag other influencers on there. Again, just creating that connection is going to be huge as you're looking through these. Is that relevant? Is that information that you're sharing still relevant to your followers? If you know an update is only going to be relevant for a little bit of time, what we can also recommend doing is to expire it in your Edgar library. So when you expire a piece of content through Edgar, it'll actually live in your library still. It'll be kind of grayed out with a little box and it'll have that expiration date on there. And it's a great way to scroll through your library and say, why did I expire this? Is this still going to provide value to my members here? You can always make sure something is not expired. You can edit it and reuse it. And again, just a nice, efficient way to make sure that you're always sharing that up-to-date content with your followers. Cool. So, in summary, here, every day over 2 million blog posts are written, over 500,000 hours of YouTube videos are shared, 80 million Instagram posts are made. So, it's easy to get caught up in consuming all of this content. But we really want to stress that the way to get better in anything like reading or like doing a sport, the way to get better here is to put what you've learned to practice. And social media is really no different. So if you've just read an awesome article on Facebook Newsroom or seen Twitter tweet something about their newest update, we recommend not just kind of scrolling through and looking at another article, but trying these tips and strategies out yourself. And that's really what we want to stress here. Taking 10 minutes a day to learn about social media updates is awesome. And then taking that back to your Edgar library and looking at maybe 5 of your status updates and seeing how you can change those to fit to the network's changes themselves can go a long way in staying really relevant on social. Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining today. We love chatting with the community here at Edgar. So please, like I was mentioning before, reach out to us, support@meetedgar.com, or leave some comments under the YouTube video here. We'd love to hear what you'd like to see from this. Love just to connect with you at any time. So reach out to us. And again, thanks for joining and have an awesome Tuesday.